Dad and me love a whole lot of history. We could be the greatest team that the world has ever seen. Dad and me love a whole lot of history.
Hi guys,
And welcome to Dad and Me Love History.
we are now releasing a brand new episode on the first weekend of every month, so watch out for that,
Thank you for your emails.
like this one.
Hi, my name is Baba and I am 10 years old. Also, I'm from America. You are my favourite podcast. Please make more podcasts. I think we have to now.
We're gonna have to, aren't we? We definitely will, if you guys can help our audience to grow. So,
Tell your friends about Dad and me.
and tell them about this episode.
It's all about the greatest explorers of all time.
So, we went to Lindisfarne Anglican Grammar School in New South Wales, Australia, to begin a research project to find out who were the greatest explorers in history.
Dad starts by talking about how do you know if websites are any good?
When you're looking for a useful website, you're looking for something that's going to be relevant. Is it about your person? Is it reliable? If it's useful, is it reliable? Is the next question. And something that you know, like Ducksters, or for me, I use a lot of BBC history. I know from experience, and you know with some of these websites, they're reliable organisations. If they've got edu or org in their web address, you know they're probably reliable. They're to do with education. So there are certain key things you can look for. But there are websites out there which are conspiracy theories. For example, there's a whole conspiracy theory that says Queen Elizabeth I in England was actually a man. It's a really sexist conspiracy theory because it basically says she was really intelligent, she was a really strong leader, she was really good with money, and therefore she must have been a man dressing up as a woman. I mean, can you believe that? But you can imagine a less educated child than yourself, maybe a younger student, or someone that's not had such a good education, if they didn't know anything else and they stumble upon that website, they might believe it's true.
They didn't even know who Queen Elizabeth.
Exactly. By the way, there's also other conspiracy theory websites out there that says Queen Elizabeth II is actually an alien reptile. There are millions of people who follow these websites. Over 10 million Americans, they've discovered, think that there are world leaders who are secretly alien reptiles. That's just because they did a survey in America. There'll be millions more in other countries. Anyway, one more thing you're looking for. You're looking for websites which are relevant, reliable, and also accessible. So that means you can get useful information from it. You can understand it.
We love history. We love history, baby. We love history.
So yeah, a website could be relevant and reliable, but if it's written in a way that's too hard to understand, it's not much use to us.
I know a reliable website that is super cool.
Which website's that?
dadandmelovehistory.com.
Yeah, and I kind of like paulletters.com too. So I'd like to come back in when you have finished this project and ask you what you found out, and for us, for me and James, to interview some of you, and for us to get some answers about who the most important explorers might be and why. So, we need to let the kids do their research work. We'll go back and see what they've come up with after a couple of weeks' work.
And then we'll find out which explorer deserves to be near the top of our list of greatest explorers of all time. And we will tell you number one at the end.
Sure will.
We love history. We love history, baby. We love history. And now we go to an advert break for parents.
The Slightest Chance is my latest World War II thriller love story based around real history. After the Japanese won the Battle of Hong Kong, a young English woman named Gwen, who was a real person, was the only female to escape from a Japanese camp, and she did so on foot, and then faced an 800-mile journey across occupied China. By the end of this novel, you will have learned all about her extraordinary adventure and how Gwen was secretly carrying information which the very top of the British government would use in the fight against Imperial Japan. Also from real history, included in the novel is the mass breakout led by a one-legged Chinese admiral, and then there's the Japanese guard, Kiyoshi Watanabe, whose Christian faith pushed him to risk his life helping Japan's enemies. Find out more at poorletters.com. The Slightest Chance, when your enemy is your best friend.
Who's the greatest explorer?
That's what we're investigating.
Where are we?
We are Lindisfarne Anglican Grammar School.
So what's your names?
May. Kailash. Tyler.
Who have you found out about?
Ferdinand Magellan. William Dampier. Marco Polo.
So why do you think yours is the best, May?
Because Ferdinand Magellan, is known as the first one to circumnavigate the globe and to cross the Pacific Ocean. I think William Dampier is the best because he made the words barbecue, avocado and chopsticks, and imagine the world without those, and he circumnavigated the world 3 times.
So he's all about the food, love it, yeah.
I think Marco Polo is the best explorer because he was the first one to travel around Asia.
So James, what do you think about the explorers we just heard about? William Dampier, Ferdinand Magellan and Marco Polo.
They did really good things, like they said.
Well, okay, so who do you think's the least famous out of those 3?
I would say William Dampier.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Now, he was an Englishman who navigated Western Australia in particular, explored the whole coast of Western Australia in 1688, long before Captain James Cook did, as well as, of course, Dampier, like Kailash said, circumnavigated the world 3 times. I wonder if one of the reasons he's less famous is because he was actually court-martialed for cruelty. Do you know what court-martialed means?
He got caught by doing something?
Yeah, and you get put in a court, so like a legal court that belongs to the army or navy. Anyway, Dampier actually had his lieutenant, George Fisher, removed from the ship on one of his voyages and put in jail in Brazil. Fisher later returned to England and he went to the British government and told them what had happened. And Dampier got into trouble and was found guilty of cruel treatment of his crew member George Fisher. So he was fined a whole load of money and was dismissed from the Royal Navy. Up until then he was working for the Royal Navy, but he still went on exploring without being a part of the Navy. So what about Ferdinand Magellan? What do you know about him?
Found lots of gold.
Yeah, that's right. When the Spanish Empire was really the top empire in the world, he was involved in bringing gold back from the Americas to Spain, and he organised the first voyage that would circumnavigate the world, that would go all the way around the world. Now Magellan, died on that voyage, so he didn't make it all the way around, but he'd organised it and led it, and then the rest of his crew, of course, did make it all the way around. Magellan died fighting in the Philippines. He was struck by a bamboo spear by the native people who were fighting against Magellan and his men. So who else would you have in your top 5 explorers who we've not mentioned?
Christopher Columbus?
Christopher Columbus, of course, he's very famous for his voyages to America.
And Zheng He?
Of course, Zheng He. the Chinese explorer who commanded expeditions, who led expeditions around Southeast Asia and then South Asia around to India, West Asia and right over to East Africa, and that was in the 1400s. So that was pretty early on to be exploring that far.
He also brought back animals that they didn't know, like giraffes and zebras.
So he took them back to China?
And elephants, yeah. And he might have been the first one to go to Australia, but there's not enough evidence that he did.
Yeah, that's right. We believe he may have been, but we don't have the evidence to prove it, so we can't say he was the first outsider to go to Australia. But it's quite possible it was him. So, after everything we've investigated and everything we've heard, who is the number one greatest explorer of all time?
Marco Polo?
Marco Polo. Why Marco Polo?
You've probably eaten this before, and you probably think it's the best thing ever. Ice cream. Where did it all start? China. Who brought it back to Italy? Marco Polo. And the Chinese was yucky. Let's just say that. It was made out of weird stuff.
The Chinese ice cream?
Yeah.
Hundreds of years or thousands of years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so Marco Polo takes that idea back to Italy and then...
Makes it better.
The Italians make it better. So Marco Polo lived from 1254 to 1324. That's 700 years ago when he was having his adventures. And he really opened up the trading routes between Europe and China. He travelled first when he was 17 years old. He went with his father and uncle. And yeah, you mentioned that he travelled to the holy city of Jerusalem on the way. And he went through Persia and the Gobi Desert. He was working as a spy, like you said, James, for the great emperor Kublai Khan. And he travelled all over Asia, working for the Chinese government. And of course he was learning about all the different foods and the buildings, the architecture, the people. And of course he explored from Europe, obviously from Italy, all the way across land to China. And he kept really detailed diaries of his adventures and made lots of detailed drawings. And really he was setting up a trading between the two continents, so he wasn't just having a look. So he went all over the place and had all sorts of different adventures. That's why we rate him as our number one greatest explorer of all time. So that's almost it for this week, but as always, keep listening for our quiz questions based on today's episode. They'll come at the end.
And listen to the outtakes.
Yeah, the outtakes seem to be the kids' favourite part.
So don't forget to tell your friends about us.
And find us on
Facebook.
And Instagram.
And Twitter.
Bye for now from
Dad and me love history. Dad and me love a whole lot of history. We could be the greatest team that the world has ever seen. Dad and me love a whole lot of history.
Here are some questions to see if you were listening.
Number 1. A useful website needs to be reliable, accessible and what?
Number 2. Which country did William Dampier travel to many years before James Cook did?
Number 3. What does circumnavigate mean?
Number 4. Who is known for inventing the words avocado, barbecue and chopsticks?
Number 5. Was Magellan the first person to lead a voyage around the world?
6. If you're in a swimming pool and someone shouts out Marco, what should you say?
Number 7. Why do I think Marco Polo is important?
And finally, number 8. Which of our explorers circumnavigated the world 3 times?
Me! Polo.
And finally, and the adults may wish to block their ears at this point, we're about to make a lot of noise. If you would definitely like your voice to be heard on this podcast episode, please, on the count of 3, so I'll do 1, 2, 3. On the count of 3, shout out, Dad and me love history. Dad and me love history. 1, 2, 3. So Marco Polo lived from 1254 to 1324. So that's 800 years ago almost. No, it's not. That's 700 years ago when he was having his adventures.
So what's your guys' names?
Ferdinand Magellan.
Oh, no, sorry.
Your
name.
name.
We'll start with your name, yeah.
Oh, my name.
And I think Marco Polo is the best because if he didn't go to Asia, there would have been no ice cream.
We can probably all agree that ice cream is a good thing, right?
Yeah, I made some ice cream last night.
Cool. Here are some questions for after you've listened. That's obvious, it's after you've listened.